Hello students, today this is the last chapter of your 10th class syllabus, Lifelines of National Economy. In this chapter we will be reading about the lifelines, that is transport and communication. All the goods and services which we use are not available in the region where we are living. That means there are some areas which are having surplus of a particular resource, and there are some areas which lack in that particular resource. To balance this, we need transportation, because the resources are space bound. All the places are not having all the resources. Now this transport thing, that the transport of goods and services, is very essential, and there are large number of people who are engaged in this. They are facilitating these things, that is, they are transporting, generally known as traders, who are helping us. Now transport can be of the means of transport. It can be through land, through water and through air. Land transportation can be further divided as roadways, railways and pipeline transportation. Water transportation, inland and overseas. Inland within the country, like in Ganga River, in Uttar Pradesh, 100 kilometers, a person is traveling in the Ganga River in boat. That is inland. Overseas, from Chennai port, a person is going to Australia in ship. That is overseas. We are transporting goods from Chennai to Australia. That is overseas transportation. Air transport, that is through airplanes, etc. It can be domestic within the country or international airways. So in this way we can classify. Now next are the importance of roadways. The importance of roadways, first point, low construction cost. Can be easily constructed, it is not very costly. Second, negotiate higher gradients. That means if there are steep slopes, roads can be constructed easily in comparison to railways. And in the rough terrain, unbelieving topography, plateau region, etc., also roads are more viable, easily can be constructed. It provides door-to-door transportation. If you are having a helicopter or plane also at home, but door-to-door transportation we require road only. Next is act as feeder to other means of transport. From Udaipur you want to go to Delhi or Bombay by plane, but from your home to airport you need roads. Or by train also, if you are going, by ship you are going somewhere to the railway station or the seaport, you have to go by road. So the feeder to other means of transportation, and economical for short distance. For 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, if you are going somewhere, it will not be feasible to go by train or by plane. Roads will be more convenient. Next is railways. These are the principal mode of transportation of passengers and freight, that is people and goods. Used in multifarious activities, can be used for various activities, different kind of transportation, movement of people, it can be used. It accelerates development. On land, mainly the industrial goods, etc., are transported by railways only, because it is easy. Large, in bulk also it can be transported. So economic development is dependent on development of railways. To carry bulky and heavy goods, it is very essential. It is an integrating force. Long distance railway lines unite the country. Like in history also, in Jolwarian we have read that custom union lead to the development of railway line, and which helped in the unification of Germany. So to a certain extent railways help in integrating the people. Next is excellent for long distance transportation. From Kashmir to Kanyakumari, if you are going traveling long distance, it will be much easier to transport by railway in comparison to roads. So these are various advantages of railways. Next is pipeline transportation. It is the principal mode of transportation for water, that is liquids, gases and minerals, but minerals in the form of slurry, somewhat liquid form. Initial cost of laying is very high. Initially to install the pipeline, to dig the and then to put the pipeline, it is quite costly. But subsequent running cost is very low. Once the pipeline is laid down, then it is very easily, at a very low cost it can be used. It reduces transshipment losses, that is transportation from transfer from this vehicle to that. That kind of losses are generally avoided, and the time is also, delays are not there, transshipment delays and losses are not there. Suppose if you want to transport a particular thing from here, you are transporting in truck, then in railways, then again in ship. So these are transshipment losses which are ruled out. The far inland refineries, etc., petroleum refineries, are working only because of these pipelines, long pipelines from coastal area to like Mathura, Panipat, etc. Gas based these fertilizer plants are able to run only because of these. Other than this, although in book it is not given, it can be used on land as well as under the water. Pipelines can be used, and so these are becoming day by day very important pipelines. Clear? Next is waterways, inland or overseas, both the waterways. These are cheapest means of transportation, most fuel efficient. If you are moving on land, that means there will be friction, so more fuel consumption. On water, if like a vehicle is moving at a ship or boat, least friction will be there, so it will be more fuel efficient. To carry heavy and bulky goods, it is considered very good. Like a large amount of petroleum we are importing, iron ore we are exporting. It can be only done by water transportation. If in trucks or railways it is transported, it will be very costly. That import-export over international trade is based on water transportation. So these are the importance of water transport. Next is airways. Airways are very important because these are fastest, most comfortable and prestigious mode of transport. Although it is very costly, that can be a limitation. But these are the advantages, the importance. It is best suited for difficult terrain. Now this point is quite important. In board exam it has been asked that in northeastern state, Mizoram, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, etc., air transport is very important. Why? Because of dissected relief. The relief is not very plain or flat. Big rivers are present there, dense forest, frequent flood and international boundary. So these are the reasons why northeastern states the air transport is very important. There are big rivers, frequent floods are there, dense forest, relief, international frontier. So these are the reasons why northeastern state the air transport is very important. It is used for offshore drilling. Mumbai High, which is situated in sea. So again and again the frequent movement of people can be possible only through air transportation. So that is the importance of air transport. Now next is classification of roads on the basis of their capacity. on the basis of capacity, how roads can be classified. First heading will say golden quadrilateral. Golden quadrilateral. It links the four mega cities of the country, that is Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata. Second, in this category only north-south corridor from Srinagar to Kanyakumari. This is second. North-south corridor from Srinagar to Kanyakumari. That is top from the top to bottom. Third is east-west corridor. This is from Porbandar, Gujarat to Silchar, Assam. Porbandar, Gujarat to Silchar, Assam. Srinagar, Jammu Kashmir to Tamil Nadu, Kanyakumari. And this is connecting the four mega cities. These roads are 4 to 6 lanes constructed by National Highway Authority of India, NHAI. The aim is fast movement of goods and passenger. This thing is very important for map work also. And one more question have also been asked. Which is the easternmost terminal of east-west corridor? That is Silchar, easternmost. Westernmost, Porbandar. In this, northernmost, Srinagar, southernmost, Kanyakumari. So in map also this is an important part. Now next is national highways. National highways, these are the primary road system of the country. Important question can be framed. Which are the primary road system of the country? National highways. These primary road system. Now next is which places are linked? The extreme places, very far off places can be linked by national highways. And next is these are controlled and maintained by Central Public Work Department. Now it can be quite confusing. Golden quadrilateral etc. are constructed and maintained by NHAI, National Highway Authority of India. But national highways are by Central Public Work Department. So make a star here important. Second is state highway. State highways are constructed and maintained by State Public Work Department, commonly known as PWD. So, State Public Work Department. And these roads link the state capital with the district headquarters. The state capital with district headquarters. These link the extreme parts of the country. Extreme parts of the country, national highway, state capital with district headquarters, state highway. Then next is district roads. District roads are constructed and maintained by Jilla Parishad. Jilla Parishad, we have right in the chapter federalism also, Panchayati Raj system. So district roads constructed and maintained by Jilla Parishad connect the district headquarters with important towns of district. Udaipur, here the city Udaipur, and Jadol is a small town in Udaipur district. So the road which connects Udaipur city to Jadol will be district road. I don't know whether if it is not national highway or state highway. If, then it will be district road and it will be constructed by Zilla Operation. Other than this, the Grameen Road, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, etc. will be there. Then there is border roads. Border roads are constructed and maintained by BRO, Border Road Organization. 1960 this body was made, and this Border Road Organization construct and maintain the roads in the border areas, north and northeastern parts of the country, where it is very difficult to construct roads. Here, Border Road Organization construct the roads so that the goods related to military, etc., can be easily transported. People, the military personnel, etc., can easily travel. So, Border Road Organization in the extreme areas of north and northeastern parts of the country, in the border areas, they construct the roads. So, these are the different types of roads. Now, next is road density. Road density is the length of road per 100 square kilometer. What is the length? So, it is the length of road per 100 square kilometer. Now, on 31st March 2011, the road density of India, national average was 142.68 kilometer. In Jammu Kashmir, it was very less, 12.14 only. And in Kerala, 517. Now, road density depends on various factors. It depends on the relief feature. If the area is flat, road density will be more because it is easy to construct. Like in northern plains, it will be easy. In Kerala, where population is also more, level land, somewhat level land is there. Economic activities are there. Population is more, so road density will be more. In Ladakh region, in Arunachal Pradesh, that means when population is less and the relief, that is the topography, is not proper, that is not level land is there, then the road density will be less. Clear? Next is the railways. The distribution pattern of railway depends upon physiographic, economic and administrative factors. This has also been asked in board exam. Important question is, if we see the distribution pattern of railway in India, most favorable will be northern plain because agriculturally productive area, need to transport the food grains, etc. Population is also there, so more passengers, level land is there, so easy to construct. But there is one problem also, there are big rivers. So bridges, etc. need to be constructed. If we talk about the peninsular region, there are small hills, etc. So it is a dissected topography, we can say. It is not a particular flat area like northern plain. So here the railway line will be affected, and it will be through tunnels, small hills it can cross, or in the low-lying areas it will be constructed, railway line will be constructed. So, peninsular plateau also there is some problem. Like if we talk about the Himalayas, very few economic activities, very less population, and it is very difficult to construct railway line in the Himalayan region. So, in Himalayas the railway line are comparatively less. Similarly, in the western Rajasthan, sandy plain, it is not very feasible. It is difficult also to construct in the sandy plain, and lack of economic opportunities. That also affects. In the swampy region of Gujarat, it is difficult. In the dense forest region of Chhattisgarh, MP also it is not very easy. So, to a certain extent, the railway lines are also affected by these all factors. These factors are nearly similar to roads also. If we talk about why Punjab, like Uttar Pradesh or Bihar are having more roads in comparison to Arunachal Pradesh, the reasons are same. Clear? Now the pipelines in land transport, these are also important generally for gas and natural gas and petroleum. These are used. Generally, we see the water pipeline only in the urban area cities, now in rural areas also. But the long distance pipelines are mainly for petroleum and natural gas. These are the three important pipelines. Upper Assam to Kanpur, Salaya in Gujarat to Jalandhar, Punjab, Hazira, Gujarat to Jagdishpur, Uttar Pradesh. Now, I will try to show you the map to understand it easily. Now, if you are able to see the first pipeline, that is Naharkatia, these are the petroleum point. Upper Assam via Guwahati, Siliguri, Barauni to Kanpur. Now, from Barauni there is one more point which is coming out to Haldia. This is the extension. So, in this way, these are the long pipelines from Naharkatia to Guwahati. It is so much the length till Kanpur, Assam, this Uttar Pradesh. Similarly, the other pipeline Salaya, Gujarat via Jamnagar, Goveli to Jalandhar, Punjab. So these are the long pipelines which are there in your syllabus. Clear?